both games at Citi Field. And the bigger story, which I'll talk about in the next episode, is that the Yankees acquired Andrew Benintendi from the Kansas City Royals, which I think really does check a lot of boxes and is a very, very good addition when you consider the fact that the Yankees are, having a rough go of it right now. They have been struggling lately. They're down to 66-33, which is crazy to think about. Like, they're down to a .667 winning percentage. But the month of July has been rough. The month of July as a whole has been rough. There's been injuries, but just overall sort of poor play. I guess those dog days of summer, you can call it. But the Yankees definitely need a bit of a jolt. And I think Andrew Benintendi is the first of, I think, what will be a few moves that the Yankees make. But that one is definitely significant. But as far as the Yankee-Mets series goes, really, you look at game one, and that was the one for me that I thought like the Yankees should have had or could have had. But what ends up happening is game two is the one that's a lot closer. I mean, both games were close, don't get me wrong, but game two is the one where the Yankees kind of battled it out in a very lopsided pitching matchup between Max Scherzer and Domingo Germán. Did not like those odds going in. But game one, really Jordan Montgomery really shit the bed in game one, and just overall horrendous with runners in scoring position. That's what it's about. It is, when I look at the series, a two-game series, Montgomery and just no clutch hitting for the most part. And I thought the second game against Scherzer, there was a lot of hard hit balls. I will say that. It wasn't one of those classic dominant Max Scherzer outings. There was a bit of bad luck involved there. Game one was especially frustrating. Game two, it's a tough loss because you're right there. But the Yankees have had a lot of walk-off losses. The Yankees, look, when they lose, a lot of the times it's very, very close. All year long, it's been that way. And that speaks to the run differential, where the Yankees, when a lot of times when they win, it's by a lot. But the Yankees were winning a lot of close games. I mean, they were winning, it felt like almost every single close game. Now that's not happening. They're losing most of those now. And so, game one I felt like provided definitely more frustrations for many, many reasons. And, Jordan Montgomery versus Taijuan Walker, that's a game that can go either way. And the Yankees took an early lead as well. And Giancarlo Stanton goes on the IL with Achilles tendonitis. And I guess it's the typical Stanton on the IL stint. It's the second one. He had one earlier that was brief. Couldn't have been much more than 10 days. It must have been a couple of weeks he was out. This one I think will be a little bit longer. I wouldn't be surprised if he's out for about a month. They're saying approximately 2 to 3 weeks. I'm thinking we probably won't see him in August, maybe towards the end of August, but hopefully we'll be back for September, ready for the stretch run. But he had been struggling before he went down, but it's still a big loss in the middle of that lineup. Giancarlo Stanton is definitely someone you want in there. Big-time home run hitter. And when he's on, he's really unstoppable. But he is very streaky. So Stanton out. And so the injuries piling up a bit. The Yankees were in a pretty good way, health-wise, for a lot of the season. The Chad Green being out for the season, that was big. But other than that, it was all, like I said, Stanton was on the IL for a small amount of time. It was nothing that was really terrible. But now it's starting to build up. Like I said, Michael King out for the season. Stanton's going to be out for some time. Luis Severino has been out for some time. So it's starting to build up a little bit here. But luckily the Yankees, built themselves a big enough cushion. And luckily for them, the Oakland A's swept the Houston Astros. So while the Yankees have a comfortable AL East lead, the Astros are very close. But luckily, unexpectedly, the Astros did get swept at Oakland. And now the Astros will face the Mariners, who, the Astros usually have the Mariners number. But look, you hope for that to be a somewhat competitive series. But like I had mentioned, the Yankees took an early 2-0 lead. And I think for Jordan Montgomery, he is just, not good in the first inning. I think that's been a theme for him in his career, but it certainly feels like it's been that way this season. And when you give Montgomery a lead, he's just not as good. Montgomery in tie games when the Yankees are losing, it's kind of why there's so many no decisions. This ends up being a loss. He's drops to 3-3 now, but a very disappointing outing for Montgomery, who usually gives the Yankees a chance to win, and I suppose that happens again. Technically speaking, he left the game. The game was still within reach, but really, this was probably Montgomery's I'd say this is his worst outing of the season when you consider everything. I'm probably forgetting. There are some that come to mind that weren't great, but Montgomery, for me, the big goat, and not in a good way in this game specifically. And the Yankees jump out to that early lead. And as far as anything lineup-wise, basically what you'd expect. Now, Tim Locastro is up with the Yanks. Taking the spot of Giancarlo Stanton. I wouldn't be surprised if Locastro is off the roster when Andrew Benintendi gets activated, although, I mean, hopefully it's Joey Gallo, but that time will come. But it'll be one of the two, more likely Locastro, if we're being honest about things. But, yeah, pretty much your standard lineup considering that Giancarlo Stanton is out of the lineup. So you got back-to-back homers for Judge and Rizzo in the first inning. So, all right, feeling pretty good about things. But I know Jordan Montgomery, and I know what he does. And in the first inning, it was bad pretty much immediately. And the thing with Montgomery was he got ahead of the hitters routinely. 0-2. 2 strike counts. And time again, he just could not put Mets hitters away. Foul it off, and eventually they get it done. So it's a Starling Marte home run with 1 out, his 10th homer of the year. And I should say, Judge hits his 38th and Rizzo hits his 23rd. So Judge continuing to hit home runs, and Rizzo as well. So Marte cuts it to 2-1. And then you get back-to-back doubles. Francisco Lindor doubles with 1 out. And then what I thought was really dumb, you have a base open. You have a 3-1 count to Pete Alonso with, a pretty big drop-off in caliber. Mark Canha on deck. And they pitch to Alonso. It just didn't really make a whole lot of sense to me, and he makes him pay with a double. So I would have walked Alonso, especially in a 3-1 count, and it's 2-2. Then he strikes out Canha, and then Eduardo Escobar, who seems to be a much better right-handed hitter than left, that would rear its ugly head again in game 2. But Escobar hits a 2-run homer, and it makes it 4-2. So just like that, Yanks up 2, then down 2. And the Yankees had a lot of opportunities in this game, a ton of them. A boneheaded play by Isaiah Kiner-Falefa in the second. You got first and third, 1 out. IKF on first, and it gets picked off. Just ends any momentum that they might have had in that inning. Just really bad mistake. Then in the third inning, it's sloppiness. It's a leadoff double by Starling Marte, and then a ground ball by Francisco Lindor to Josh Donaldson. It's a bit of an errant throw. Not sure whether to blame Donaldson or maybe Rizzo. It goes off of Lindor's helmet, and it's an error. And Marte scores, so that makes it 5-2. And Montgomery doesn't finish the inning. Ron Marinaccio comes on, and Marinaccio, the good thing there is he looks exactly as he did before he went down. So Marinaccio is able to go an inning and a third, and pitch really well. Top of the fourth, Yanks get a chance, bases loaded, and 1 out. And DJ LeMahieu, who has really been very good lately. I feel just generally speaking, I like the way he looks. The stats back it up. But for some reason, DJ with runners in score position, it's just been a bit of a struggle. Some of it bad luck, but I don't know. I mean, not in this case. And he was almost lucky. RBI ground out as LeMahieu hits a little soft ground at Eduardo Escobar, and they get the out at first. Then Aaron Judge is essentially intentionally walked. 4-pitch walk by Taijuan Walker. Walker was in trouble a lot, but was able to navigate through and get the Mets through 6 innings. But Judge, that was a smart move by the Mets to walk Judge. And then Rizzo, this is tough for me. 3-0 count, and he's swinging on bases loaded, 2 out. I didn't love that. Now, he hits a ball that was pretty close to being a grand slam. Warning track power, but I wish Rizzo would have taken there. And it's not as if the pitch was down the middle. It was a strike, but it was on the corner. So Rizzo going aggressive, and it doesn't work out. And so it stays 5-3. In the fifth, Jonathan Loaisiga comes on. Loaisiga, makes contributions in this series, and it seems like maybe he might be rounding back into form, which would be huge with Michael King out. He pitches a scoreless fifth. Aroldis Chapman pitches a 1-2-3 sixth. Adam Ottavino comes on in the seventh, and it's more base running issues. First and second, 1 out for Gleyber Torres, and the Yankees try a double steal, which against Ottavino makes sense. We know Adam Ottavino as a Yankee, not good at holding runners. Judge had third stolen, but what was smart was Nito throws to second, and Anthony Rizzo is out. That's a tough one right there. I don't love that sort of aggression right there. Ottavino was on the ropes, and they let him off the hook. So that inning ends. Wandy Peralta pitches a scoreless seventh. And in the eighth is when things just become a joke, where Aaron Hicks gets a 2-out walk-off of Ottavino. And the Yankees send up, and I didn't like it at all, but I wasn't surprised by it. Joey Gallo is the tying run. And hopefully, honestly, that'll be Joey Gallo's last at bat as a Yankee. Would be kind of fitting. And the Mets bring in Edwin Diaz. So I don't really care. And look, kind of for Leffa lately, obviously there was that base running blunder, but he's been really good. Been getting tons of hits. And I would rather him in there than Gallo. And what does Gallo do? No surprise, strikes out against Edwin Diaz, who strikes out everyone. So just stupid. Totally stupid. Albert Abreu comes on and gives up a run in the eighth. It is an infield single by Francisco Lindor, then a single by Pete Alonso, and Abreu almost gets out of it, gets a couple of strikeouts, but then there's a wild pitch that costs him, and Jeff McNeil is up. I would have pitched a little bit carefully here too. It's a 3-1 count. I know McNeil's been struggling lately, but McNeil is able to slap an RBI single, so that wild pitch that moved the runners up kind of ends up being key there because it was a hard hit. If it had been first and second, I don't know if the run scores. So it's 6-3 Mets. We go to the ninth. Diaz gets into a little bit of self-inflicted trouble. A fielding blunder on an Aaron Judge groundout leads to a tying run up for Rizzo and Torres, and Diaz strikes out Rizzo and strikes out Gleyber Torres, and the Mets win game 1, 6-3. We head to game 2, and at this point I'm thinking, all right, the Yankees, they blew their chance in game 1. Scherzer, Herman, this is not going to be good. But give the Yankees credit. Give Herman some credit. The pitching. The Yankees played they played a better game 2. Less mistakes for sure. But the runners in scoring position was still a problem. 0 for 7 in game 2. So 0 for 7 in game 2. After game 1, the Yankees were 0 for 8. So 0 for 15, that's just not going to win you ball games. And that's not good. Game 2, basically the same lineup, a couple of differences, Higgy in for Trevino, some positional stuff, but basically the same lineup. Herman versus Scherzer. And I thought that the Yanks really did a pretty good job. Scherzer obviously goes 7 scoreless. He's Max Scherzer. He's going to do well. But I thought that the Yankees actually got some pretty good cuts off against him and a little bit of unluckiness. But still, the Yankees, the results are what the results are. So, in the second inning, it's a home run for Pete Alonso. Pete Alonso, his 26th homer of the season, just clears the left field fence. It was close, but it's out. And it's a 1-0 lead for the Mets. So at that point, thinking, all right, this could be like the Astros game. But Herman, you could see he had more crisp, better stuff. But in the third, it's a leadoff double for Tomas Nido. Aaron Hicks, I wish he made a better play on this, but it is what it is. And it's a Nido double, and Herman almost gets out of it, but then Francisco Lindor dunks a single into right, and with Matt Carpenter's arm, Tomas Nido scores easily and gives the Mets a 2-0 lead. So the Yanks, there was some traffic, there were some opportunities. In the fifth, DJ LeMahieu's up, and after Josh Donaldson hits a shot off the top of the wall, it's a double to lead off the fifth, and I knew if it didn't go out, the Yankees weren't going to score the run, and sure enough, they don't. And LeMahieu is up with first and second 2 out and really rips a shot right at short. And, nothing you can do about that. So LeMahieu shows some frustration. Lucas Licky comes on in the fifth. Herman goes 4 2/3, and Licky pitches a good fifth and a good sixth and partial seventh as well. Aaron Judge struggled in this game. Aaron Judge was up in the seventh in a first and third 2-out spot, and Scherzer strikes him out to end Scherzer's night. So Aaron Judge, with not, after a good first game, not a good second game. Bottom of the seventh rolls around, and Licky, doesn't finish the inning, but Loaisiga comes on and finishes it. So Loaisiga pitches back-to-back nights. It was a small workload in game 2, but he gets the job done. And so David Peterson comes on for the Mets, and the Yankees take advantage of that. It's a leadoff walk for Anthony Rizzo, and then a 2-run opposite field homer for Gleyber Torres, his 16th homer of the season. So what has been a pretty solid season for Gleyber Torres. Ties it up at 2. And so we head to the bottom of the 8th, and Clay Holmes gets into a little bit of trouble, a one-out walk to Daniel Vogelbach, but he's able to get out of it. And it was risky, honestly. Jeff McNeil, 3-1 count, base open. I would have probably walked him, but he hits it hard, and Lear makes a nice play to get McNeil out. I would have not done that, but they were fortunate. In the 9th, it is on for the Mets with Seth Lugo. Seth Lugo was on for the Mets. And in the 9th, you get a 2-out single by LeMahieu, and then Judge grounds out. So Judge goes 0 for 5. And then we go to the bottom of the 9th, and Wandy Peralta comes on for Clay Holmes, and a leadoff double to Eduardo Escobar. So it's too bad that it didn't work out where McNeil walks, let's say, in the 8th, and then Escobar is weaker as a lefty. Maybe Holmes gets him out. Escobar, much better as a righty, gets the double off of Wandy Peralta. Then it's a good bump by Tomas Nido, gets Escobar over to third, and what was the real killer, lefty Nimmo with an infield single on a play that Wandy, I think, would like to have back. Goes off Wandy Peralta's glove. If he makes that play, all of a sudden it's runner on third, 2 out, and then Starling Marte gets a single to win the game. If the infield's at regular depth, there's a chance that that's a line out. So, Yankees, again, like, not as if the defense was really bad in game 2, but Wandy, I think, would like to have that one back. And Starling Marte, who's a good hitter, good bat-to-ball hitter, gets the walk-off single for the Mets. And so the Yankees lose both. This one 3-2. And now the Yankees will head home to take on the Kansas City Royals. And what is funny about that is that Andrew Benintendi will be a part of that for the Yankees. So you go from the Royals facing Benintendi to, now he's on the Yankees. So that's a nice sort of swing of events just for the 4-game set. And so the pitching matchups for this Royals series will be Brady Singer versus a struggling Jameson Taillon. Game 2 will be Chris Bubic versus Garrett Cole. Again, on paper, you gotta like that matchup on paper. Then Zach Greinke, the veteran, versus Nestor Cortez, another matchup you gotta like, although you respect, Greinke's, sort of guile, if you will, and obviously he's a veteran. And then TBD for Kansas City versus Montgomery. This is a series, again, with the Yankees struggling with the acquisition of Andrew Benintendi. You're looking to win 3 out of 4. It's very tough to win all games, 4-game series. That's just a tough ask. Win 3 out of 4. Win 3 out of 4 against the Royals at home, and I'm perfectly fine with that. So, again, Yankees lose both to the Mets, but the big story here is the acquisition of Andrew Benintendi, which we will talk about.